Today I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to be doing a walk around the battlefield of Towton in Yorkshire. The Battle of Towton was fought on Palm Sunday, the 29th of March 1461, during the Wars of the Roses. It was probably the largest and bloodiest battle ever fought on English soil. My walk started from the village of Barkston Ash, and on the road out of the village at the junction of Headwell Lane there is a base of a cross known locally as the Leper Pot. A cross was possibly once erected here in memory of Lord John Clifford, who died on the eve of the Battle of Towton. It was a little further north from here in Dintingdale where Lord Clifford and his mounted cavalry were ambushed returning from Ferrybridge, where they had been involved in an earlier battle. From the Leper Pot I'm going to walk north to Dintingdale, but I'm going to use the bridleway through Scardingwell Park to avoid the main road. Well, this is a pleasant walk through Scardingwell Park. From Scardingwell I'm going to walk into Dintingdale along Saxton Lane and into the village of Saxton. I'm now going to cross the A162. Saxton is 3/4 of a mile away. I'm going to head into Dintingdale. It was here in Dintingdale where Lord Clifford was caught by a Yorkist force led by Lord Falkenberg and was killed with an arrow to the throat. Dintingdale is a distance of less than a couple of miles from the Lancastrian camp based next to the village of Towton, and it's unclear why no one actually came to his aid. Here in Saxton, in the graveyard of All Saints Church, there is the tomb of Lord Dacre of Gilsland. Allegedly he was buried alongside his horse. I've just had a walk around the churchyard and I think his tomb is over here. Alongside the tomb of Lord Dacre there is also a memorial which marks the burial site of 43 skeletons that were discovered in 1996 in a burial pit close to Towton Hall. From the church I'm now going to walk to the Crooked Billet pub. I'm now going to follow a field path to the Crooked Billet public house. From the path across the field I get a good view north towards the battlefield in the distance. Well, I'm now approaching the Crooked Billet, and opposite the pub in a field is St Mary's Chapel, known locally as Lead Church. Well, the Crooked Billet has the coat of arms of the Earl of Warwick, the Kingmaker. It is said that an earlier on this site is where Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick, stayed the night before the Battle of Towton. There we go, the coat of arms of Richard Neville. I've just had a drink at the Crooked Billet, and now I'm going to walk over to Lead Church. There is an information board here, and it says the field in front of you was once the site of a complex of buildings, roadways, water management features and farmland, all centred on a timber framed manor house. This was the medieval village of Lead. All that now survives of the medieval settlement is the small chapel of St Mary, Lead. Although dating to the 14th century, this chapel has no known connection to the Battle of Towton. The Richard III Society reglazed one of the windows with the crest of Richard III, the white boar. From the chapel, I'm going to return to the main road and then walk northeast towards the village of Towton. The Battle of Towton brought about a change of kings of England, with Edward IV displacing the Lancastrian king Henry VI, establishing the dominance of the House of York. Just north of Cotcher's Lane, we are now on the left flank of the Yorkist lines. And on my left in the distance is Castle Hill Wood, the position where a Lancastrian ambush party waited in hiding. To the right of the road, we are now looking across towards the battlefield itself. Like the battlefield, we have an information board. Well, this is where we are, and here we have the Yorkist lines, and facing them was the Lancastrian line. It says most soldiers on both sides were archers, and the battle began with an exchange of arrows. The Yorkist Lord Falkenberg led his archers forward 40 paces, shot a volley, and then retired to their original position. The Lancastrian archers returned volley after volley, but shooting into the wind and driving snow, could not see their arrows falling short. The Yorkist tactics caused heavy casualties, forcing the Lancastrians to advance to close combat. The centre of the fighting is identified by a series of mass graves along the valley bottom, where I am now standing. No burials remain here. The bodies were exhumed in 1483 and reburied in sanctified ground by the order of Richard III. From the first information board, I'm going to continue north towards Lord Dacre's Cross, which was erected as a monument to the battle, and it roughly marks the position of the initial Lancastrian position. Well, to my right would be approximately the initial position of the Lancastrian army, and opposite on the road is Lord Dacre's Cross. Here at Lord Dacre's Cross we have the second information board. Well, on the second information board we have the trail. This is where we started at board number 1, and we're now up at Dacre's Cross, and we're now going to follow the trail around and head towards Towton. Next to the second information board is information board number 3, which tells us about the kings in conflict. Here we have Edward IV and Henry VI. I'm now going to follow the waymarked battlefield trail. The battle reaches its climax. When the two armies engaged hand to hand, the Lancastrian superior numbers pushed the Yorkist army back up the hill towards Saxton. The Yorkist line may also have been outflanked at its left end. Some accounts report a Lancastrian ambush from Castle Hill Wood, far from the main action, although this may be an excuse given the eventual victors for their temporary setback. Then, in the nick of time, Norfolk's troops arrived. This seems to have turned the tide, and as fresh troops joined the fighting, the left of the Yorkist battle line swung back. The tired and demoralised Lancastrian army broke and fled to the northwest, directly towards Cockback and a terrible fate in its freezing cold, fast-flowing water. To the south of the information board is Bloody Meadow, which is over there, and it's here that many Lancastrians would have been slaughtered as they fled the battlefield. On board number 6 we have information about the weapons of the Wars of the Roses. And here is a reconstruction of an archer from the Battle of Towton. Here is a picture of a skull with a hole in it, possibly caused by a horseman's hammer. I'm continuing along the battlefield trail to a lane called the Old London Road. Information board 7 tells us about the route of the Lancastrians. Hall gives the death toll at Towton as 36,776, but a more commonly accepted figure is 28,000. Some scholars today think that these are gross exaggerations and that the true figure may be closer to 3,000. However, the pursuit by the Yorkists, especially those of Norfolk's battle, who may have arrived on horseback, combined with the perils of crossing Cockback to cause carnage and gave the name to Bloody Meadow, the scene of much slaughter. Information board number 8 tells us about the armour of the Wars of the Roses. If you want to see examples of this armour, it's probably best to go to the Royal Armouries at Leeds. Information board number 9, the Bridge of Bodies. The only bridge over the Cockback was here, where the old London Road crossed the stream on its way to Tadcaster. Those Lancastrians who made it over the bridge probably escaped the Yorkist pursuit, but many more were probably slaughtered before they could cross. The Bridge of Bodies, where the dead Lancastrians filled the stream, allowing others to cross, may have been here. From information board number 9, I'm going to now join the Old London Road and walk down to the bridge. This lane is called the Old London Road. This is the modern day bridge crossing the River Cock. Doesn't look much, but on the day of the battle it would have been in flood and filled with icy cold water. I'm now going to retrace my steps and walk into the village of Towton itself. The final information board, number 10, which tells us about the village of Towton. In 1996, a mass grave of battle dead was unearthed during building work at Towton Hall. Archaeologists recovered the remains of 38 individuals, all stripped before burial and very carefully laid to use all available space in the grave pit. Between 2002 and 2005, 4 more graves were discovered and archaeologically excavated. 3 were single burials and the 4th grave contained 3 skeletons. Again, all showed evidence of having died in battle. Other excavations in the cellar and across the front lawn of Towton Hall found disarticulated human remains, suggesting that yet more skeletons have been disturbed during previous building work, probably in the 19th century. Excavations have also taken place across Chapel Hill behind the hall. These found no evidence of a chapel rebuilt by Richard III, although a few tantalising fragments of worked stone hint that the building, which was never finished and subsequently demolished in the late 16th century, may be located close by. So here we have Towton Hall, and D is Chapel Hill. On my right is Chapel Hill and beyond Towton Hall. Well, there's one final information board before I get to the village of Towton, and I should be able to point out the walk I've done today. I came through Skidingwell Park, along Saxton Lane. I had a look at the church, then I went down to the Crooked Billet public house. I came up the road to Dacre's Cross, from Dacre's Cross I went to the information board here, and the trail actually goes around this way before joining the Old London Road and coming back up to Towton. Now I've got to get back down to Barkston Ash, so I'm going to come down the main road. Hopefully there'll be a grassy verge to walk on and back again.